making it this far. I'm so happy that you made it. Now, before we go any further, you need to understand a couple things. First is what is a class in OOP? And what is OOP? Well, OOP means object oriented programming, and a class is just a blueprint, a definition, or a description of something inside your program. Now, a class defines two things for this something. It defines the properties of this something, it defines the methods. The properties could be variables, arrays, or any type of data. For the methods, we have functions that create behaviors for this thing that the class is describing. Now, so a class describes what exactly? What is it, this thing that you're talking about, Edwin, and you're not telling me? An object. All right? And an object is just a group of data put together by a common theme. An object could be a variable, it could be a function, it could be any data structure inside your program. I know it could be a little confusing, all right? But let me just give you a couple of examples, actually, one example of an object. Let's say, for example, we have a car object, all right? For this car, and now keep in mind that the objects in programming are very similar to the objects that we have outside on the real world. So for this car object, we are going to define some properties. Let's say, and methods. Let's say we have for this car, a property could be wheels, the wheels of the car, right? It could be the seats, that could be a property. What about the radio? That could be a property. I mean, the car has thousands of pieces, right? We can have a lot of properties for this car. And just to give an example of the methods or the functions or the behaviors, right? They all mean the same. We have the wheels. Let's say we move the wheel. That could be a method of this object. Move the seats, right? That could be one if you have one of those cars that have electric seats. That could be one. What about turn on the radio? That also could be a method, a function, a behavior of that car. All right. The benefits of using OOP or object oriented programming are many. It provides code organization. It provides less complex, functionality. Well, not functionality, more complex functionality with less complex code. All right, we have more interaction within our code easily if we wanted to. We're methods, and properties. Our code would be more modular, meaning we can change objects or groups, within our code without affecting other pieces of code in our program, right? I mean, the benefits are many. If let's say, for example, we have a company, right? And this company, we have a lot of programmers working in a project. We could have each programmer work in a different object of that program, and none of the objects will conflict with the main program. You see, I mean, we could separate our program into little objects. We could have the form object, we could have the navigation object, we could have the header object, the footer object, and we can have many different people working on those modular pieces or objects, and they will never affect each other. Knowing object oriented programming is a benefit. And on this course here, I'm going to introduce you to it, and I'm going to explain a couple things to it. We're going to be using it a little bit on this section here, but I want you to grab the major idea on what it is, so that way you are more prepared to start coding in object oriented programming. All right, it's gonna be super easy the way I explain it, and then hopefully you understand it. If not, for some reason you have a question, I'm here 24/7. You can email me, you can contact me, and I can show you the way. All right, but anyway, I want to thank you, and again, congratulations for making it this far. You're gonna love this section, and I'll see you in the next lecture. Take care. Hi, welcome back. On this video here, we're finally gonna go and get into building objects. Well, not exactly. Before we build objects, you know that we need to define its environment. And its environment is a class, a definition, description, a blueprint of the object. So firstly, we need to set the properties and methods of this object that we will be building. All right. So let's go ahead and define a class. That's what I'm trying to say here. I didn't want to go too deep on it and bore you to death, but let's go ahead and let's define a class. So let's go to the blank.php. Let's do save as, and let's go ahead and save it as a class underscore car.php. Boom. Let's take that off. Save. Hopefully I'm not going too fast for you. Let's open the PHP tags right here. All right, so what is the syntax of a class? All right, so the syntax, class is the keyword that we need, all right, to get this going. And the name of that class, just like functions, all right, we have a keyword just to let Apache know that we will be creating a class. So get ready, Apache, we will be creating a class, and the class name will be car. Make sure you capitalize that C if you're following me, or whatever first letter of that word that you are creating, that class. It's always got to be capitalized. If not, it's not going to be considered a class. Ooh, unbelievable, right? Opening curly brackets. Perfect. We have done. We created a class. So now this blueprint here has to have many things inside, and we're not going to go into details in this video here. But we will check to see if this class was already defined, if it's working right. So let's do that. Let's create an if statement, and let's use a function, pre-built function of PHP called class exist. I believe this is the way, right there. And what class are we trying to find out that exists? Which one is it? Right here? No, right here. Car. Let's put some quotes in there and write it down. So what do we want to say if it exists? Do we want to say something boring? It does exist, or we want to say something like, yay, nice, nice, right? And then if it doesn't work, we want to say something like, something really exciting, like, no. I hope you're laughing right now. All right. But anyway, we're going to leave it like that. All right. So let's go ahead and open it in the browser. All right. And let's see. Oh, yeah. The class is working. Nice. What about if I go like this? Change it. No. That did not sound very exciting. Let's see. Let's try that again. Yeah. Nice. The class is working. All right. Let's try that again. No. Man, anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching this video here. So we define a class here. Now the next step to do this, the next step for defining the class is actually creating some content for it, right? Some properties, some methods, and make it. And then at the end, the goal is to create an object, right? So anyways, hopefully you were able to get some valuable knowledge out of this and some laughs. And I'll see you in the next lecture. Take care. All right, so now that we have created a class and we found out that it is there, it's already defined, we need to start adding some functionality to it. All right, so let's go ahead and open our code editor. It's the first thing that we got to do, and then we got to do a save as on that blank.php. Actually, no. Hold on, not blank.php. Let's do a save as on. Let's continue from where we were. Class car, class underscore car. Let's do a save as and call it class car 2, right? Because we want to build on this. I want to keep using this class to show you a couple examples. Let's just take this right there. Let's open this in a browser. Of course, we're going to get the same thing we got last time about the class. We know it exists. So we're going to comment that out, and then we're gonna create a method right here. The way we create methods are the same way we create functions. As a matter of fact, they are functions. We just call them methods when they are inside the class. When they are outside the class, we call them functions. But we create them the same way. So function, let's create a method called greeting. And if I trip and call it function, please don't don't worry about it, right? They are functions. We just got to refer to them differently. So I'm going to try to refer to them as methods all the way, all right? So anyways, so all right, as a matter of fact, let's call this something else. Let's call this move wheels. Let's just make believe that we are creating a game, and we have this car here, right, that we are creating, this cartoon car, and we want the wheels to make, right, to move. So let's make believe that I'm actually setting some properties for the a big circle to move around or something like that, and I'm gonna say like wheels move. in reality, you would say something like you would need to give specifics here, numbers and calculations on how the wheel can go around and how many times it's gonna go around, if it's gonna stop, and um, many different things. But before you do that, you always have to set the properties of that wheel, right? You have to set how big the wheel is, if it's black, if it's white. This is how you create things. Things are not as easy as people think. You have to create first the properties, right? Like we talked about in that example. We could create a steering wheel, or we create the hood, the engine, all the great stuff about that car, right? Visually, that people see. And then we create the functions that will make that happen, right? That will make that move. So in this example, this is going to be a rough example. I'm just saying wheels move, all right? And just make believe that we have a whole bunch of functions here that are going to make this move. And you see, I call the functions. I was supposed to call it methods, but anyway, methods, right? So anyways, all right, so we have this method created here. Now, we need to find out how, if it is here, if it's already defined, if it's working right? Well, we have this thing here coming up because we're checking for a class. We already know that our class is working, it's fine, it does exist. Let's see if the method there is okay. Method, if it does exist, let's pass in the class, which is car, and we need to pass it another parameter, which is the method. So inside this works like an in array basically. We're trying to find out if car inside the car class, if this method exists. So we're gonna grab the name of that, we're gonna put it right here, and we're gonna say the method exists. No, it does not. All right, I think that's okay. There we go. So you can see here it changed. So we found out that the method does exist, and then we can keep going with our. Now you would do this when you have a whole bunch of different methods in the class, and you just want to sure you want to make sure, but you have thousands of lines, and you want to come here and say, did I make this method? Let me just look for it, and you would do something like that, right? And when you have many different classes, you can also do the class exists function there to find that out. Those are built-in functions that we use from that PHP, the creator of PHP, make for us, so we can use them. Imagine making this your own. You will have to go there and make a whole bunch of lines of code, trying to find it, to saying to scan all the folders or all the other functions to find if this method exists. I mean, you will have to scan a whole bunch of different things, and that's what this method underscore exists function is doing. It's just scanning a bunch of code, trying to find out if this exists. First, it's probably checking on this directory here, on this file right here, and then if it doesn't find it here, we'll move on to other. But this will work right here because this is where we are defining it, right? This is where we are using it. So we are looking for it right here on this file. But anyway, I don't want to confuse you. I think we went out of time. We went out of time on this one. On the next one, we are going to be learning how to start using this functionality, how to instantiate the class. All right, and I will be speaking about that in the next video. All right, but anyway, thank you so much for listening and learning, and I'll see you in the next lecture. Take care. Hi, welcome back. This is really getting really exciting, right? Well, on the last video, we saw how we created a class and we added a method inside the class. Now we need to find a way to actually start using those functionalities, right? So let's go ahead and open our co-editor. What we will be doing on this lecture here is instantiating we're going to create an instance of this class. All right, we're going to make this work. Basically, we are going to be calling the functionality inside the class. All right, so we know that we have this class here called car, right? And you can call this an object already because we have the functions, right? We will have the properties there, but we don't have it yet. But the way we create the object is we need to instantiate this class here. All right, and I will show you in a minute how we do that. Let's first, before I confuse you, let's first do a save as here, and let's do class underscore 3. All right, all right. They have a whole bunch of different terms for the things that we do in programming, and you need to learn a couple of them. All right, so that way you can be on sync to what's going on, right? So we have the class here, and we're checking methods, but right now we don't need to do that. Let's just take this off. All right, so we created a class right here. We created a functionality. How do we start using this functionality? That is the question, right? That's the $1,000,000 question. Well, very simple. We use the name of this here, but we first use a keyword called new, and then we use the name with parentheses. Boom, done. That's it. That way we can start using this. Now we need another way of actually holding this value here. This is very simple to when we create arrays or create functions to that we save into variables and do things with it. Very similar to that. So what I want to do is create a variable. I'm going to use a variable to hold this class here with all the functionalities inside. And I'm using terms that are very normal, right? Basically, what we will be doing is creating an instance of this because we can create many of them. So I'm gonna actually call this. Let's just call this. All right. Let's call the BMW. All right. You know I'm so descriptive with my names, and so now I created an object. This is an object now. All right. So we created an instance of this class here, but you can actually call this an object, right? Because an object is, a group of data related that, you know, by a common theme, right? So this is an object. Now that we have this BMW object, we can go ahead and you know what? We can create another one. We can call this, I don't know, Mercedes. And that's for Mercedes Benz. I like nice cars. What can I say? Mercedes Benz right there. All right, so we created another instance of that object, of this class, I'm sorry. And you can call these objects if you want. And how do we start using this? How do we start using the functionality? How do we start moving the wheels, all right, of the BMW, for example? So right now, what I want to do is I want to move the wheels of that BMW, right? And this is just a figure of speech. We know that we can't move the wheels with an echo. But imagine that we have this whole bunch of functionality inside this method here. How do we activate it? Very simple. We grab the BMW, right? We use the minus and the arrow, greater than symbol. And we say, you know what? Activate. Move those wheels now, BMW. Boom! And the wheels are moving right here. Okay? This is how you start using it. So you grab the object, the name of it, the instance, and you say move wheels. All right? So we have that. What about this other Mercedes? What are we going to do with this car? Are we going to race? Yes, why not? Let's race. So I'm going to grab this one too. And I'm going to say, you know what? I need you to race, man. You need to go with this guy too. So let's go ahead and let's use the same thing we did here. Mercedes, and then move wheels. Boom! Mercedes right in front of it. It went down. BMW is gonna win this race. It's behind right now, but he's gonna win. So let's go ahead and do that. Let's win. All right. Oops, we saved it there. We're supposed to save it on the file here. I don't know why I keep saving that there. There we go. So BMW went in front of it again, and so on and so on and so on. You get my point, all right? We can call this many times, and we can create as many instances as we want. This is how we can start using the functionality inside that class, all right? So anyways, hopefully you were able to learn a lot on this one here. And if you have any questions, I'm here 24/7. Well, not 24/7, but I'm here for you. So dear students, I know this was really exciting for you because it was really exciting for me. Now, you might not see a lot of functionality, but keep this in mind. We are actually creating objects now. We are actually creating functionality that is that you can use to create even games, right? There are a lot of programming languages out there that you could use, like Java or C or any other language, to create really, really, really high definition games. But anyway, PHP is a really great language to learn, and this will help you. Knowing OOP is gonna help you create really advanced websites. All right. So anyway, thank you so much for watching this lecture, and I'll see you in the next one. Hi, on the last video, we created some instances and we also created some functionalities. Now it's time for us to create some properties for our functionalities, for our methods, for our class. All right. So the first thing that we are going to be doing is using a keyword called var. All right. This keyword is going to allow us to create properties that we can use within our class. All right. So this is very unique right here, and we just now after the keyword var, because the keyword var means variable, we need to put just a regular variable in PHP with a dollar sign, and then the name of the variable and the value if you decide to. All right. So we know we got 4 wheels in a car, and I'm going to create a couple properties here, and I'm going to show you how to use them later. So let's create another one. What do we know that a car has? Hood has a hood. So we're gonna do a value of 1 there. We have an engine, value of 1. We have doors. That's another important property, right? And we can have a default of 4 doors. All right. So now we added some properties to our class, or should I say object, right? Well, so let's take the Mercedes-Benz out actually, and just take it out completely right here. All right. So how do we use these properties here, right? How do we use it? Well, everything here inside this class, we need to actually use it with an instance. That's the way we do it, right? Because this whole thing is meant to be used as an object. So we create it right here, right, by instantiating it, and then we use it. So now that we have this instance here and we put it in a variable, let's go ahead and create and do something with it. BMW, and then I want to see how many wheels. First I have to echo this out. There we go. So now we use the word echo like we usually do with the instance, with the variable here that we assign this instance to this variable. And now this whole thing's called an instance, right? So we use the minus and the greater than with wheels. Now we don't put the dollar sign here. All right, we don't put the dollar sign to echo this property. We already have the dollar sign defined up here. The way we use it down here is we don't do that. We don't put the dollar sign right here anymore. All right, just know that. All right, so let's do something else. Let's go ahead. So we know we have 4 wheels. Another thing that I want to show you is that we can assign. All right, so if I wanted to, I can go ahead and do this, BMW, right? And I can say right here, wheels 8. We can change the value of this property right here on the instance if we wanted to. Right? We can also use a method to do that. We can also use this. And now one thing that I wanted to show you is that every time we refer to this car class inside the class, every time we refer to this, we refer it with a word called this. So let me just take this off and I show you this. This keyword here, all right, this is the way we reference this class inside the class. So we can use the word this, and we can say this wheels equal to 10. All right, and if I take this off here, okay, all I have to do now to use this right now is taking the default right now because I'm not doing anything with it. All right, I'm not actually calling this method. I'm not calling it. I need to call it right here. So I got to do BMW, call the method, and boom. Now when I call the method, this method is going to take care changing this wheels value to 10. And when it changes to 10, then if I call it again, it's already changed. This method was able to do that for me. All right. So know that inside the class, we refer to its name with a keyword called this. So we don't have to say car in here, or we don't have to say BMW, because we can't do that. We are actually creating an instance outside. We create an instance outside and use it outside. Inside the class, we refer to it by this. Just know that. All right, instead of this or this, right? Because what we do here is we have the instance, which is this here, the instance, right? We create an instance with new car, and we assign it a value. We assign it to a variable, and then we use it. So we create this whole functionality right here inside the class. We create it as an instance and then assign it to a variable, and then we use this variable to do different things inside here, right? So, but to refer to this, because we refer to this whole thing, this object outside with this, we just use the word this. All right, I know it's a little confusing, but know that we use this to do things inside the class. All right, to refer to this object, to this class. All right, so now we change that, and we can also come back here and change it again if we wanted to, but I'm not going to do that. So for example, let's create, you know what, I feel like creating a new instance, and just let's create a new instance of this car class. All right, and let's call it truck. How about that? And let's just take this out of here. All right, so I have this, I'm echoing here wheels, right, for the BMW. And what I want to do is I'm gonna concatenate here a BR tag just to make a little space. And what I want to do is I want to echo the truck. I want the truck to have different wheels, because in the truck we have, what do we have? We have more wheels, right? So what I'm going to do is, as a matter of fact, I think I can echo the whole thing out right here like this. Echo wheels 10. There we go. We can actually even echo the whole thing without even assigning it before, right? So what we did here was we created a new instance called truck. All right, then we are changing the wheels value to 10, and then we are echoing at the same time. We could do that. All right, so keep that in mind. All right, so now the truck has 10 wheels. We have a different instance with 10 wheels, and we can also have, of course, the other properties here. We can print that out. All right, just know that we can do that. Now we can create another method here, and we can call this method create doors or something like that. And I could say this doors, I don't know, sits. All right, and that would change the value every time I called this. It would change the value to sits, right? So I can go ahead and say, you know what, truck, right? And I could say doors, and I could just echo it. Well, if I echo this like this, it would give me 4. Let's put a BR tag here. Let's just concatenate this. All right, so we got 4 here, but I don't want 4 for my truck, you know? Let's assign it a different value. Let's have some, let's call that this method right here. So we created it for something. Let's call it, right? So let's say, you know what, truck. So we refer to a truck, if I remember how to write truck, and then boom. So we call this method here. We change the value to 6, and now truck has a value of 6. Every time we call this method, it would change the value of doors to 6. Now, what I'm trying to teach you here on this video here is that we can do whatever we want to do. All right, once we create an instance, we can change the properties. We can have methods to change the properties. We can go manually here and change it. We can leave it empty and then go ahead down here and start using it however we want. All right, I mean, there are many different things that we can do here. I just want you to get some practice on this. So watch the video here, practice on your own, create another class if you want. All right, you can create another class right below this one and call it coloring card or something like that. Create some colors, create some properties for your class. Create some methods that will do things in your class. Practice, practice, practice. It makes perfection. All right. So anyway, thank you so much for watching this video. Hopefully I was able to give you some knowledge here on how to use properties inside the class along with methods. Take care, and I'll see you in the next lecture.